Hi, I am Sandro Gauci from Enable Security, and I'd like to welcome you to our presentation with the scary title of The Various Ways Your Real-Time Communication System May Be Crashed. This is a presentation about denial of service on RTC systems from a security researcher's point of view. We gave parts of this presentation at Kamalia World 2019, but did not manage to include all our content in the 30-minute slot. And so, we decided to release our presentation here. I have split up the videos so that one could easily jump to a specific topic if need be. Our job as penetration testers or security researchers consists of testing systems for security issues. And we're especially focused on voice over IP and WebRTC infrastructure. Therefore, we are not only interested in web app or network infrastructure's security vulnerabilities, but also interested in those security issues that are specific to RTC. And so, one of the questions that often comes up is this: how hard would it be to take away the RT from RTC? Or how can an attacker cause the RTC system to stop being real time? As I mentioned before, we'll be talking about denial of service on RTC systems. However, it is important to note that our presentation is not about DDoS attacks that rely on saturating the bandwidth. What I mean is that we are not interested in attacking the pipe in front of the RTC system, but rather in attacking the RTC system itself. And so we'll actually be talking about is various DOS attacks that we came across in our penetration tests. To prepare for this presentation, we went through our previous work and identified those vulnerabilities that could be categorized as DOS. And then, after removing any sensitive information, we tried to further categorize each DOS attack so that it can be described in this presentation. And so we came up with the following agenda for this presentation. First, we will look at denial of service on signaling, then denial of service on media, denial of service on monitoring tools, denial of service on callbacks, and denial of service on security protection. Then we will look at evasion of security protection that might be in place. And finally, we will look at what can be done to protect the attacks, to protect against the attacks that we describe. Do note that this presentation does not introduce the protocols such as SIP and RTP, nor does it describe concepts that are specific to RTC. So the audience is expected to be already familiar with these concepts. Therefore, the target audience is VoIP engineers, WebRTC infrastructure people, vendors who are developing RTC systems, and the service providers who are making use of such systems and perhaps need to better understand their exposure to DOS attacks. And of course, if you're a security researcher interested in RTC, please do get in touch with us. In this presentation, we have a number of demos. The target machine that is attacked in these demos was set up on DigitalOcean and had the following specs: 8 vCPUs, 32 gigs of RAM, plenty of storage space. So it's a pretty decent system. The attacker nodes from which we launched the attacks had minimal specs. We had half a gig of RAM, just one vCPU. Note that in the case of signaling attacks, we did distribute the attacks across 3 different nodes, 3 different attacker nodes, such as the one you see in front of you. However, most attacks only required one node, as you will see in the demonstrations. A bit of a disclaimer here. We tried to replicate the same effect that we saw during our client engagements, during penetration tests, but not the exact same environment. So yes, We know that one can set up a better target with clustering, load balancing, and so on. However, the point of the demonstrations is to show the same effect that we've been seeing during our work, without leaking any sensitive information. And for that purpose, the demos should do the job. Also note that we were of course concerned about saturating the bandwidth instead of actually bringing down the target setup. Therefore, we monitored the network for problems using tools like iperf and ping, and made sure that the problems that we see in the demos are not a result of network problems. Finally, we will be showing some commonly used RTC software such as Camelio and Asterisk. Do note that our demos are not meant to show DOS vulnerabilities that are specific to these software packages, but rather to demonstrate generic problems that can be found in most RTC platforms out there. Having that out of the way, we can start by looking at DOS on signaling in the next video.